Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I make blueberry muffins. Going on a trip next week and I'm going to take some muffins for breakfast. So I'm going to make them now, and after they're cooled I'll stick them in the freezer. That way they can thaw out on our drive down to Orange Beach. I will link the recipe down below, and also in the recipe it shows you how you can make this into a loaf if you want to make this into just a loaf of blueberry bread, or you can put it into the muffin tin to make blueberry muffins. We're going to start off with an egg. To that, I am going to add my sweetener. I have some xylitol in there, and I'm also going to add some warm cashew milk. I just made it because I was out of almond milk. Cashew milk is so much easier to make because you don't have to strain it at all. And I like to have it warm to help dissolve the xylitol. I'm just going to mix this up together to start with. My xylitol is in pretty big crystals. I haven't powdered it yet like I should. So I want to stir this around and try to get this to dissolve a little bit. And next I'm going to add in my oil. This is grapeseed oil. You can use olive oil too if you want. Mix that around with my extracts, my almond extract and my vanilla extract. And next I'm going to add my baking powder, baking soda, a little bit of xanthan gum, and my salt. Don't worry if that gets too lumpy, it'll mix up when we get the flour put in. And I'm going to do just a little squirt of lemon juice. The lemon juice and the baking soda will react. If you've ever made a volcano for a science project, you know how vinegar and baking soda reacts and foams up. Lemon juice will almost do the same thing, but it also adds a little bit of lightness and airiness to your baked goods, so I always add that in. And then I have here some sprouted wheat flour and some sweet sorghum flour and some of my homemade almond flour from my almond milk the other day. Just gently stir this in. With any quick breads that you're making, muffins or breads, you don't want to overwork the dough when you put the flour in, or the batter. So just until it's stirred in. And this is a little thin today, so I am going to actually add a little bit more flour. I don't want the batter too thick, but you also don't want it too thin. That looks better. And then I am going to fold in my blueberries. The big ones here are blueberries that we picked from a local farm, and the small ones are the wild blueberries that I get from the store. I think they both taste a little bit different, so I like to mix them up if I have both. Just fold these in. Berries have been thawing on the counter for a little bit, so it's going to turn my batter purple, which is just fine. Purple's my son's favorite color, so he'll be happy. And there you go. That's blueberry muffin batter. And then I'll just fill up my muffin pans and bake them. Make sure you put them into a preheated oven. Whenever I'm making cake or muffins especially, cupcakes especially, but pretty much any baked good, I always preheat my oven to about 25 or 30 degrees more than what the recipe calls for, so that it will help make your baked good rise up nice and round on top, especially for muffins and cupcakes. And then when you put the pan in the oven, you turn it down to the correct baking temperature, and you're good to go. Now these will bake for about probably 18-ish minutes. It really depends on the ingredients. Cashew milk is great for baking, but sometimes it makes a little extra moisture and you need a little extra baking time. But I prefer to bake with cashew milk over almond milk. It's a little bit richer, especially when you're using sprouted wheat flour. Gives you a little bit extra moisture. Keeps things from being too dry. And also when I bake these, I'm going to turn the oven down to just barely under the temperature in the recipe, because it works better with sprouted wheat. If I had spelt flour, or if I was baking these with white flour for non-dieting people, I would bake them at the temperature that's in the recipe. So I'm just filling these up almost to the top. I'll stick these in the oven, and then when they're done, show you what they look like. Okay, here are the muffins. You can see how nicely they rose up because I had the oven preheated a little bit hotter. What that does is it makes sure that your oven is the right temperature when you close the door after you put them in. A lot of heat escapes when you open the door, so if you preheat it to slightly above what you need it to, once you get your muffins in the oven and close the door, lower the temperature to the correct temperature, then you're good to go. And that's what makes them rise up like this, nice and tall. Now, sprouted wheat and spelt both tend to brown quite a bit when you make muffins and breads, but it still tastes good. These aren't overdone. See those big juicy blueberries in there in my very used pan. And I got 8 muffins out of this recipe. Sometimes I get 9, sometimes I get 10. It all just depends on the ingredients and how actually big my egg is and stuff like that. So I cannot wait to have one of these for breakfast. I hope you give this recipe a try. Check the link below for the actual recipe. It's super easy. You saw how quick it was for me to mix these up. These do freeze pretty well, so you can make them ahead of time and keep them in the freezer. And if you're lazy like I get sometimes, you can just put it in a loaf pan and make a loaf of bread. There we go. Make sure you click on subscribe and give my video a thumbs up, please. And check back for my other videos that we'll be posting every week. Thanks for watching, everyone. I appreciate it.